Professor Haystacks here, giving you quick thoughts on the episode where Maude has a boyfriend. I don't actually know the name of it. Just a few quick notes. First, that the sequence where Pinky's going around trying to find Maude seemed to be entirely filler. It introduced an arc where Maude was neglecting Pinky that they didn't follow up on, which makes me think that that scene was added later because they were running short on time. I mean, that was really a crappy thing for Maud to do, so I really felt like it deserved some follow through. Um, then we have a stick in the mud. What was his name? Do you remember his name? Mud Brush or something. Anyway, his cutie mark was a stick in the mud. It introduced his tendency to take too long to do stuff, which also didn't show up again, but admittedly it was rather annoying. Also, the fact that the store was going to close exactly at noon, customers waiting in line, be darned. The tendency he had to say technically a lot. I've actually done that in the past, but I'm sure there's a name for this, but it's one of those things where it's annoying, but not enough that you feel like you can comment on any individual instance. And so annoyance at it just kind of builds until you're in a bad mood one day and just explode about it, which is probably not healthy. I feel like Pinky probably should have said something at some point, but that may well show up in the future. Uh, his obsession with twigs. I'd like to point out a pet twig is liable to decay at some point. It's not really as practical as a pet rock. And also his weird thing about pinatas. I mean, once it's off the tree, it doesn't care. What? Is it Mudshire? Mudshire? Maybe? You know what, let's go with that. I'm just going to call him Mudshire. If that's wrong, then someone will correct me. He also was completely oblivious to the fact that Pinky was trying to do a formal introduction. But regardless, we have that bit where they're arguing over whether a petrified wood display counts as sticks or rocks. It's the Ship of Theseus slash grandfather's knife paradox. I prefer the grandfather's knife version that goes, my grandfather gave me his knife. Since then, I've replaced the blade twice and the handle 3 times, but it's still my grandfather's knife. It's a bit of a conundrum. The voice actors didn't quite play this right, but in fairness, it's really hard to do a playful couple argument. It always winds up looking weird when you're trying to fake one. So I can't really fault them for that, but it did feel just a little off watching it. We also see the Mind Palace thing. I kind of thought this was the guy from Big Bang Theory. He is not. He was in iZombie, which is where I heard his voice before. But Mind Palace was, of course, made popular by Sherlock in recent years. And he does a whole meditation thing. Although he, again, seems oblivious that no one else can actually see that. Pinky does not actually know Maud that well. This points to Pinky's heroic flaw, which is her inability to notice discomfort in others. It showed up with Cranky as well. She had to be beat over the head with it. The thing is, I just realized while thinking of what to say for this that that's basically Mudshire as well. They're kind of like mirror twins. It's like, to put it in Pinkie Pie terms, like she's cookie dough ice cream and he's an ice cream cake. There's both baking and ice cream involved in both of them, but kind of the other way around. Pinky's very gregarious and tends to steamroll over what people actually want. He is more of a loner and tends to ignore what people actually want. I feel like there's probably a good story in there where someone points out that he and Pinkie Pie are actually very similar. I could have even seen Maud saying that. That would be great. And of course, it opened with Maud's stand-up routine, which she's more of a humorist than a comedian. John Hodgman, famous for being PC, and I'm a Mac and I'm a PC, said that the difference is that a comedian has to invoke laughter, whereas a humorist need only invoke wry chuckles from the intelligentsia, which is more what her humor does. It's funny, but it's more of a chuckle funny than a guffaw funny. And the people rather cruelly, in my opinion, laughed at the statement that she was funny, but it didn't seem to get to her. It's hard to tell with Maude. Uh, and of course we saw,
Mud Bear.
huh?
Mud Bar.
Mud bar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mud bar. That makes sense. We had a sand bar last episode. We need a dirt bar and a soil bar. Anyway,
Sorry, I was bugging you.
that's fine. We got to see limestone and marble again. I did not realize that Ingrid Nilsson does all three of them. That is pretty darn impressive. Um, limestone, very clearly jealous. Who says I'm jealous? I'm not jealous. I can't help but kind of feel for her because there's no one out there. There's no stallions or mares out there, whichever her preference, that aren't related to her. So she's kind of in a tough spot. They need something like farmersonly.com, which I don't know how well that actually does. It's catering to a small demographic, but it's actually a problem these days. Farmers are largely isolated, and it's not really a good way to meet other farmers. So there's because they all have these huge farms. So it's an issue for them to find a partner. And then there's the fact that Maude, when Maude broke that appointment with Pinky, she was gone in the morning. I can't help but wonder if there was an implication there. But on the other hand, Maude did say in like. She basically insisted they weren't actually in love yet. So I think more likely she just met Mudbar for, or was it Mudbar or Mudbriar?
Mudbriar.
Yeah, Mudbriar, sorry. Mudbriar, uh, more likely she met Mudbriar for breakfast. Like I said, it was still not cool of her to ditch Pinky like that, and I feel like that was an added scene, and they didn't think through the implications as a result. Like they were running short. More kites. Let's see. Maude does some technical jargon, which you know, her favorite music is classic rock, classic flow type of volcanic sedimentation process. I'd have to look up the specifics, but I got the joke and I was chuckling. And it sounds like this. That's my time. That's a classic kind of joke, and she did that. She did a variant on the old timing joke. Oh, but yeah, and then at the end, Mudbriar actually comes up with a good solution, a surprise party she doesn't have to attend. He's pretty clever. I'll give him that. Um, I do hope we see more of him and he's not just forgotten. Uh, I don't know how well that will work out, but I also we need shippers on limestone with different ponies because that needs something now. Possibly marble. She doesn't express herself very well. All right, that's all for now. Just some quick reactions. See you next time. Good night and drive safely.